I can listen to you. I'm going to give you some answers that I have got from Angie Maldres from her book, Mentor Courses. The first one, to raise awareness of the influence of an observer's standpoint on clear observation. To raise awareness of the possible drawbacks of non-focused observation. I didn't give any suggestion. I didn't say, look at the people who are wearing red clothes, for example. I didn't say anything. I just said, write down. Only that. So, you were free to write whatever you wished. Another aim, to highlight the value of pulling different perspectives to get a clearer picture. And to highlight the fact that objective recording of evidence is possible, even if differently selected. We tend to think that observation is always subjective, and that's not true. It can be objective. That's why, let's connect this with our classes. When somebody gets into our classes and observes us, we say, no, that teacher, I've never got on well with that teacher, so the evaluation is going to be terrible. I don't want that teacher to get into my classroom. Well, that's not true. If you are a professional, you can do that in a very objective way. Now, some comments that the group discussion tend to bring are these points. Factors influencing what people observe. Previous experiences. For example, that scene there was a railway station in New Delhi. So if somebody has seen any film connected with that, or you've been to railway stations, here we have a small one, yeah, La Estación Central, but anyhow, it is a railway station. You can compare that. You could have said, here there are a lot of people, and maybe you started taking that into account. Interests. Maybe you couldn't care less about a railway station. As simple as that. It's valid. Personality. You are the sort of person who is always interested about everything, and details. So you took into account every detail. Memory, recall strategies. The way we remember things. That there are some people who can recall everything. Good for them, because I can't. Physical ability. You are short-sighted. When the image there was shown, you wanted to have some water, so you were distracted, etc., etc. Recalling techniques. Categories. Some people categorize these observations. In this particular case, objects, actions, people, detailed part of the whole versus overall impression. So instead of getting a whole idea, a holistic point of view, you went into details. Tendency to interpret, and we are human beings, we interpret everything, and this is something that as mentors we have to forget a little bit about that. We have to be as objective as possible. We look at something and we say what we saw, but not what we think that might have happened. For example, about the accident, I say, no, I think that the driver was drunk. We don't know. We are just inventing something, interpreting. Another thing, recording techniques. There are different ways in recording. Some people use shorthand, if you know. Others just write the keywords. Others write whole sentences. It depends on the person. Okay, then let's see whether these comments in a way were similar to the conclusions that you got. Now, let's see another. Being observed. Yeah, breathe in and breathe out. Being observed, this is something that we teachers are a bit reluctant to. Nobody likes being observed, but it's good because with the feedback that another teacher can give you, we can improve and it helps our teaching. And it shouldn't be a threatening experience. And this is what we have to try and develop, as relaxing as possible, this experience. Okay, how are we going to do it? First, you're going to work alone. Unfortunately, I mean, we can't get into a classroom and do that. So what we're going to do is to work with a worksheet, which I'm going to show you on the PowerPoint. First, you're going to work individually on task 1 on the being observed sheet. What is it that you have to do? This is the sheet. Number 1, think back to occasions when you were observed teaching. Individually, write answers to the following. Yeah, think about that. I'm quite sure that if you haven't been observed lately, all of us have been observed, and we were observed during our practicum. Many years ago, some years ago, few years ago, it depends on how long you've been teaching. How many times have you been observed? How often? Answer that, please. How long ago was the last time? Who observed you? Why? That's a very important question. Why? Because that can make it threatening or not sometimes. How did you feel? What happened before the observation? How did you feel about that? What happened as a result? How did you feel about that? Now, I mean, my piece of advice is that you print this and then have the copy there and write down the answers so that you can have more time. Here, I've done it quickly. Now, what did your observer do during the lesson as he was observing you? How did you feel about that? In groups, now, share your answers and decide on an ending to the following to tell the whole group. The 2 most interesting things we realized as a result of this discussion are, I mean, this discussion is very enriching because in this moment we are going to share our threats, our attitude towards being observed, why we felt the way we did, what was, and that's something very important to the relationship we had with the observer. If we knew that person beforehand, if it was school authority, whoever that person was. Right. Now, what do you think the aims of this, in small groups, work on task 2 on the being observed sheet, what I've already said. Yeah, whole group round-up discussion, and then before we go into the other activity, we're going to see what are the aims of this activity. What do you think they might be? Why? And before we get into that, it's very important that's why I always say that we teachers, sometimes it's good that we play the role of a student. We forget that we were students once, some time ago, long time ago. And it's good to remember that, because like that we understand our students. When they are nervous, they say they are stressed, they are afraid, because we are nervous, we are stressed, and we are afraid. So it's good to remember that. Okay, what are the aims of this activity being observed? First, to raise awareness of the influence of an observer's standpoint on clear observation. To raise awareness of the possible drawbacks. No, I made a mistake. So I was confused, sorry. So, I was referring to the other activity, sorry.